Hey YouTube, the last video I did was in response to the #1 question that I get from viewers, and mainly from the new people beginning stacking, and that question was, how do you decide where to buy your silver or precious metals from? So my last video was for beginning buyers. In this video though is for the #2 question that I received, which is in regards to selling. I've been buying precious metals for getting on close to 30 years now, and on a couple occasions I have sold, and in 2010 and 11 I did some pretty major selling, and I learned a lot through that experience, and I was going to share some of what I learned. Now once again, this information is a few years old and things change, but it should be somewhat representative of what selling today would be like. I ended up selling 4 different sources. I sold directly to a national dealer, APMEX, and there's several dealers that you can sell to. I happened to select APMEX, and I'll tell you how that went. The second source that I sold to was a local coin shop. The third method that I sold was on eBay, and the fourth method that I sold was on Craigslist. And let me start with APMEX, because that's where I've definitely done the majority of my selling. And I kept track of how much I got. I've still got all the paperwork, and it shows what it is in comparison to the spot price, what I ended up getting. Now, how do you go about selling to APMEX or a comparable national dealer? You know, they have a sell agent that you can call. The good thing is it's a simple process. If you see that the spot price is at a good place for you and you decide to sell, or maybe you just need to sell, you can call and lock in the spot price at that moment. You can tell them what it is you have, and then based on your description they'll send you a confirmation email and shipping instructions, and then you have X amount of days to ship the items there. And then once they receive it, what they will do is look over the items, and as long as the items are as described, then you will get the money. The only item that I sold to them that I got a reduction in price on was on some Morgan silver dollars. I had sold them stating they were coal. I did not realize that there's actually a category called worse than coal, which are for, you know, just the really horrible shaped ones. And so not all of the Morgan dollars that I sold did I get my locked in price. They knocked some down, but everything else that I sold, I got the money that I was told I would receive, and received a check, and it went smooth. But let me talk about the individual items for a minute, because I learned there's a variance, and this has helped me to decide my future buying after I've learned some lessons from selling. #1, I sold someone else gold coins, and I ended up selling them at that time. The APMEX paid me 102% of the spot price. And I also sold some 50 pesos gold, at which I got 100% of spot price. So the thing is that you need to keep in mind is, what do they charge for these things? Well, on average at that time they were selling US gold coins for 5% over spot, so there was a 3% spread. At that same time, they were selling 50 pesos gold for 3% over spot, and ended up being a 3% spread also. So although I got 102% of spot for the 1 ounce gold, and I got 2% less spot for 50 pesos, ultimately it equaled out to where I got the exact same money for them, because when you go to purchase them, I paid 2% more for the 1 ounce US gold to start with. So it's a pretty much a break even. So there's no big difference between, and I happen to really like 50 pesos gold, so I know moving forward I'm even more confident in buying 50 pesos gold, because you end up getting the same as you do for the US gold. Another thing that I sold to APMEX were several generic silver bars that range between 10 to 100 ounce. On average on those bars, I was paid 99% of the spot price on that day. That's what I got locked in. And on average, those bars cost 105% of spot. So they're 5% over spot when you go to buy them. So there's a 6% price differential on the generic bars. So they're making 6% off you for the generic bars you sell them, while they're only making 3% off you on the gold coins that I sold them. The fractional gold, I received 98% of spot, and as you start going down, or this was foreign fractional gold, I'm sorry. So this are like the Swiss francs and the German marks and the French roosters, those type, quarter ounce, around a quarter ounce type coins. I got 98% of spot for those. American Silver Eagles, I got 108% of spot. So they gave me 8% over spot, which sounds good, but you have to remember, or at least at that time, they were selling the Eagles for 15% over spot. So they were making 7%. They were making more money off the transaction on an American Silver Eagle than they were from the generic silver bar. The generic silver bars, they were making 6% off me, and on the American Silver Eagles, they were making 7% off me from what they were going to turn around and sell them for. On the I sold maple leaves, I got 105% of spot, and that was a really fair deal, because they were only selling them for 8% over spot at that time, so they were only making 3%. They were making more than twice as much off me on my American Silver Eagles than they did off the maple leaves. The big loser probably of all the items was the Morgan silver dollars. I got 100% of spot price, but at that time they were selling them for 23% above spot. So they were really making a killing off the Morgans that they bought off me. And as I go through talking about these other experiences, that's one thing that I've learned is, unless I can pick up a Morgan real cheap, I kind of shy away from them now, because and now once again, we're talking bullion here, everybody. I'm not talking numismatic coins. Okay, bullion is what we're talking. So of course you could have a Morgan silver dollar that's worth tens of thousands of dollars, but I'm not talking about those. Okay. And then one thing I found that was interesting was on the 1 ounce rounds at that time, they were not looking to buy any 1 ounce rounds that were not APMEX. So all my 1 ounce rounds, none of them did I sell to APMEX. One thing that I was really surprised, and once again, it changes, and it's probably different now, but at that time, all my Australian silver coins, the kookaburras and koalas, and some lunar coins that I was going to sell, At that time, they were not looking for them. I guess they had a flood of them or something, so I didn't sell any. The 100-ounce JM bar, I was expecting to get a little more for a JM than, a secondary market bar, and they didn't offer me anything additional, and so I didn't sell 100-ounce JM bars to Atmex. And then the junk silver, the same thing. The price they offered, I thought was very poor, and so I didn't sell any junk silver to them. So I packaged it up and I sent it off, and I ended up getting my check, and it was pretty pain-free, and I ended up dealing with Atmex on more than one occasion. I did not sell, by the way, everything at once. I sold in 3 increments as the prices were, going upward in 2010 and 11, and so I ended up I sold to Atmex on 3 different occasions, and all in all, I was very happy. So I had some things that I could not or chose not to sell to Atmex, so I started looking at some other routes. I ended up selling my generic rounds, 1-ounce rounds, to a local coin shop. I ended up getting 97% of spot. And of course, the good thing about, it's 97% of spot, which, it's all right. It doesn't look great when you're looking up above here. You don't see any 97s. But then again, I didn't have to pack up and ship anything. I could walk into the store with the generic rounds, and I walked out with money. So that's a nice thing. The 100-ounce JM bar, I ended up selling to a local coin shop, and I got 96% of spot for it. The Australian 1-ounce coins that I didn't sell to Atmex, I ended up selling to a local coin shop, and I got 92% of spot. And at that, once again, at that time, for some reason, I just wasn't having a lot of luck. I love my kookaburras and my koalas and my lunar. I have complete sets of all of them, so I'm certainly not trying to talk bad about them, but just the fact was, at that time, that was about as good as you could do, get 92% of spot. And then I had a bunch of poured generic bars, and I ended up selling those to a local coin shop, and I ended up averaging at 92% of spot for those poured generic bars. A few things, I tried the eBay. I'm not an eBay expert, and I'm sure as you get better at eBay, knowing how to ship less expensive, etc., you can do better than I did. But I sold some fractional U.S. gold. I didn't have much, but I had some, and I sold it on average, I sold it for 13% over spot, and in the Morgan and the peace dollars, I ended up selling for 11% over spot. But the thing is, as I learned quickly on eBay, I mean, you've got eBay fees, you've got PayPal fees, you've got shipping. It was a pain, and just me personally, it ate up any of the extra money. I would have been better off just having to do it again. I would have sold those Morgan dollars to Atmex before I did it on eBay again. So, but I sold some stuff there, and that would have to be a preference thing, but would not be the way that I would do it again. eBay would be out for me. And then the last method that I sold was I sold a few things on Craigslist. And the thing that I did really good, that's where I did the best with the Morgans. The Morgans on average I sold for 25% over spot. And I'm not really sure why that is, but of course that 25% over spot Atmex is at that time was typically selling Morgans. Now I'm talking about coal Morgans, worn out coal, coins. Atmex was selling them for 23% over spot at the same time that I was selling them for 25% over spot. So anyway, I guess with shipping and all that, I was selling them for basically the same price. But I sold them on Craigslist, and I wish I would have sold them all on Craigslist in hindsight. That's the route I would have went with Morgans. Those are easy to sell. They're recognizable to people. Like people seem comfortable to buy those from an individual. So I did good on Craigslist with that. And the other thing I did good on Craigslist was on junk silver. On the junk silver, I ended up on average selling that for spot. And once again, I think because people are comfortable in identifying junk silver, they're just more apt to purchase that type of thing on Craigslist. So, if I was selling Morgans or junk silver, in hindsight, or if I ever go to do it again, Morgans and junk silver, I would try to sell first on Craigslist. You'll get the most money, and you have the least cost involved. eBay, I would rule out, for me personally, not be the way that I would go. Once again, those people that are more experienced in eBay, more power to you, but not for me. Local coin shop is, and that one thing I really learned, local coin shops really vary. Some of these places call themselves a coin shop, and they're really just like buy gold and silver places. They're not coin shops. And some of those places will offer you like 75% of spot for your stuff. It's horrible. But if you find a legitimate coin, store, most of those places will offer you, in these percentages. And then if you build a rapport and you bought from them and stuff, you can even increase some of these numbers. So, that's the thing with the coin shop. They vary because they're owned by an individual, and so they vary as much as any individual does. And so ultimately, that's my story on selling. As far as ease goes, the Atmex thing was easy, but I will admit, when you, even with the package insured and stuff, it's nerve-wracking sending stuff off. Another thing I sure found was, gold is sure a heck of a lot easier to pack up and sell than silver. Man, it's nice when you're selling a 1 ounce gold coin that's, when spot's $30-something an ounce, or excuse me, silver's 30, but gold, is up. When I sold was, in the close to 1800, and it's nice to be able to shoot in a little teeny package, man, to put thousands and thousands of dollars worth of coins, where obviously silver takes up a lot more space and weight and costs a lot more to ship. So all in all, gold was much easier to deal with on the selling part. And all in all, gold had the little smaller differential, typically around 3% compared to some of the silver, like the Eagles, that had a 7% differential. So it was kind of an interesting experience, and I'm looking forward to the prices getting back down to where I start buying more again. And I'm looking forward, of course, just like we all are, or at least most of us are, to the day when the prices are way up and you can sell your stuff for a big profit. I think for most of us, that's kind of the goal or the dream. I know some people don't ever plan on selling, and people have owned this stuff for different reasons, but obviously this video was about selling, and if you watch this whole thing and then make a shitty comment saying I'm never going to sell my stuff, well then why did you watch this video? Sorry, I had to get that out there, but you know, there's always that 1% of YouTube trolls that's going to have to put some stupid remark on this. So to you all, I say hello. And the other 99%, I say have a great night, and I hope this helps out. Talk to you later. Bye.